Hi Tarot friends, it's Jade here with Tarot Your Truth, and I'm back with another video in my Walking Through the Tarot series. Well, first of all, welcome back to my channel. And if this is your first time seeing either my channel or this particular series, then you should know a couple of things. One is that my channel is all about learning. So I'm not trying to teach anyone. I am simply documenting for myself my learnings. One of the ways that I learn best is to compare and contrast and sort of analyze and then actually talk about it. So it's one thing to read about it, but then I really cement my knowledge by writing things down. So I keep a lot of journals, and also forums like this where I actually will do it on video and talk through things to guess I'm a bit of a written and a visual and an audio learner. So that's the one thing. So in this series, what I do is I pull out every single card one at a time in the tarot deck. And I will always have the Rider-Waite-Smith copy on the left. So this is the Radiant Wise Spirit card, as you can tell by the backs maybe. And I will start off by reading the description, or a typical Rider-Waite-Smith description for this card. And then on the right over here, I will place other cards one at a time so that we can compare. And I'm going to do 3 different styles. So the first one will be other Rider-Waite-Smith based cards or decks. And then I will add the ancient Italian decks as well as the Marseille style decks that I have. And then finally, we're going to conclude with the Thoth style decks, which I didn't have in my major arcana card, video, so I apologize about that. But anyways, without further ado, since we're 2 minutes in, let's have a look. So again, this is the Rider-Waite-Smith definition, and I'm pulling a few different texts. I am using the Kitchen Table Tarot by Melissa Sonova, as well as various other tarots. So here, I'm just going to paraphrase the Kitchen Table Tarot definition. And this says, there is strength in solitude. The, quote, shut the hell up so I can hear myself think card. It's about being done. Being alone, sorry. All her other senses are cut off. She doesn't need external influences for the decision she needs to make. She doesn't need distraction. She is also okay with that. This is something she needs to figure out for herself, hence the blindfold. On the reverse side, or the shadow side of things, the moon tells us to be cautious, to seek deep inside ourselves and look for pitfalls and traps, especially the ones we lay for ourselves. Reversed, the Two of Swords also speaks to imbalance and chaotic thought, sometimes mental illness or depression, being surrounded by hypocritical people who drown out your own thoughts. So that is a pretty standard Rider-Waite-Smith meaning. So now let's start looking at some other cards. And I'm going to just adjust so we don't get the glare. So this is the Morgan Greer Tarot. This one I believe says much the same. And I'm just going to confirm that. So, and of course, I actually don't have that one here. So, oh, I do. Okay, so this little white book for this deck says, blind faith and direction, one who conforms to the dictates of authority. And on the shadow side, disloyalty and scheming. Interesting. So I always thought the Morgan Greer was fairly similar to the standard Rider-Waite-Smith, but apparently, again, every deck creator can put their own spin on things. So That is that one. We have the Tarot de la Nuit, which in this case has much of a similar description. Sorry. This one says, "What shall I choose? I have a choice to make, and not an easy one. Should I save him and let him drown and forget his face? The answer lies within, and I have to dig deep inside to find it. I have to do the inner work and question my heart, even if it scares me. I have to make a decision quick. If you're sailing on the same ocean of doubt, that means you have a choice to make too, and you can't avoid it. We both have to question ourselves and face the truth of the matter. The sun is already rising, so the decision is to be made now. Decision to make, digging inside, face the truth." So again, a different way of getting there, but much the same meaning. Okay, all right. We have the Herb Crafter's Tarot, which of course doesn't have any people in it. Most of the cards have hands in them, but I won't read that booklet. But I do have a walkthrough of this deck, and if you're interested, if you don't have this and you're curious about it, check it out because it is fabulous. And so with this deck, the suits are actually the elements. So in this case, you'll see it's the Two of Air. This is Chicory. The book is fantastic. So it gives you information on the actual herb or plant that's there. It gives you some keywords, and then actually talks about crafting with that particular herb or plant. So it is amazing. Check it out if you're interested in plants at all. We have the Zombie Tarot, which I adore. I find it just so clever. This is the Vice Versa Tarot. So this is the front, right? So very much like the RWS card, except more modern imagery. And in this case, she's actually in the turbulent waters. So she's not even on land. And the skies are all stormy. We've got some lightning here, which leads to more of that urgency piece. And you can't see the moon at all here. It's completely obscured. And on the reverse side, things are much more calmer. Maybe the decision is behind her. The moon is illuminating everything and helping her to make that decision. Another very similar card is the Influence of the Angels deck. We have the Deviant Moon. This is a deck I haven't worked with very much, and I really need to. Let's just have a look at what that one says. I'm not going to read every single one of these cards, but some of them I would like to. So the Two of Swords. Two mighty swordsmen of equal skill have reached a stalemate. They rest a moment before resuming their battle. The upright meaning is a stalemate, balanced powers, an immovable obstacle, rest before action. And on the reverse side, falsehood, lies, treachery. So that's very interesting because that the shadow side meaning is very similar to what we read about in the RWS card, but the upright meaning has a different nuance. I absolutely love how deck creators do that. I just find that it helps me to constantly be learning. I love it. Okay, so this one is the Spiral Tarot. It's very much the same, except here she's actually also writing, oh, it looks like there's a waterfall in front of her and she's on a tightrope. The Mystical Manga. The Raven's Prophecy. Let's have a look at what that one says. And that might be the last one that I read of the style. Okay, so the keywords are duality, decision-making, choice, and stalemate. Okay. So sometimes the Two of Swords represents a conflict where there are two parties, such as a fight in a relationship, but it's still a stalemate. There's no right or wrong, or there is, and both parties see it and refuse to voice it. The hands are tied on this card, fingers braided. When it appears, it's telling you to be decisive. Choose to pull your fingers free of one another, and then you might find you have enough wherewithal to slip free of the rest of the tangle. Interesting. I love it. This is my Nicoletta Ciccoli deck, again with a tightrope. I didn't realize how many cards actually had tightropes in them. This is one of my favorite decks of all time, the Everyday Witch. Another favorite deck, the Muse Tarot. Let's be honest, most of these are my favorite decks. Okay, the Game of Thrones Tarot, which I also adore. The Pagan Otherworlds, and it looks like my little turtle here is getting overloaded, so I'm going to move those. What if I put this instead? All right. The Ethereal Visions. The Druidcraft, which is RWS-ish. The Mythic Tarot. So that's an interesting one. Actually, I'm gonna read that description. I think that'll probably be the last one that I do for this video for the RWS style, just because there is yet another nuance of a third person in this deck. So I find that interesting. All right. Bear with me for 1 second here. Okay, Two of Swords. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's quite a big book, but on a divinatory level, the Two of Swords implies a state of tense balance where there is a refusal to face some impending confliction. A more creative way of handling this situation might be to try to face what lies ahead rather than attempting to preserve the status quo, which will eventually be disrupted anyway. Okay, so there you go. It actually does end up being the same, even though there's a third person in the artwork. I guess if you're someone who reads intuitively, which I try to do with the background of the book learning, you know, depending on how this comes up, this could be the querent having to make the decision, and here's the two choices, or there could be other things. Anyway, there's the Aquarian Tarot, the Crystal Visions, the Crow Tarot, the Rackham Tarot, the Emerging Toronto Artists Tarot, the Gilded Tarot. Let's see here. Sorry, I don't like this glare. Okay. This is the Art History for Past Lives Tarot. So genetic illness. And that piece of artwork is called Blind Wife in a Room. So the creator of this deck used existing artwork that was on basically public forum, so free. That's the Fountain Tarot, which I think was also existing artwork. The Dark Mansion Tarot, the Tarot Muha, which I adore, the Modern Witch Tarot, my love, the Hidden Realms, the Shadowscapes Tarot, the Santa Muerte, the Mystic Mondays, the Joie de Vivre, another tarot deck which I really love for its kitschiness, the Housewives Tarot, the Mermaid Tarot, the Dame Darcy Tarot, the Wild Unknown, the Light Seers Tarot. Love it how the crows are pulling at her hair. The Spirit Halloween, yeah, the Spirit Tarot. The Revelations Tarot. So this is the upright. So you read this card from the center up, and the reverse meaning is center up. The Wildwood Tarot. Very much like the Justice card. This is the Spirit Keepers Tarot. And that is, yeah, that's it for the RWS style. So let's look at the Ancient Italian and Marseille style. I've just got these all together because they're mostly the same. So this is the Ancient Italian deck by Lo Scarabeo, which is like the Sopraffino deck. Because the artwork is the same, I didn't pull out the Sopraffino. Here's the Tarot of the Master. The Enlightened, Enlightened, oh my gosh, what's it called? The Enlightened Tarot, the Enlightened, anyway, it is a copy of it's a Solabusca version. This is the Valentina Visconti deck. That is my only black and white deck. This is the Minchiate Etruria. I love how there's a deer or an elk, I don't know what that is, deer, elk. This is the Tarot Classic. So actually, let me read what the Tarot Classic says, because we haven't read any Marseille style yet. All right, so if I can find it. The Two of Swords, the divinatory meaning. Balanced force, harmony, firmness, concord, offsetting factors, stalemate, affection. And on the reverse side, duplicity, falsehood, misrepresentation, disloyalty, dishonor, treachery, false friends, and liars. And I'm also going to read the ancient Italian meaning. It says dual, opposing strengths, competition, test of strength, judgment, ordeal, debate. So again, very, obviously there are nuances, but many people that I've read about say that the Marseille and the ancient Italian are completely different languages. And that may be true. There may be additional nuances that you get out of the Marseille style decks, but I think that this is the Tattoo Tarot. I think that in many cases, the RWS meaning could be applied here and vice versa. Yeah, I know people will disagree with me on that, but we just read some descriptions that were very, very similar to what we discussed here. Okay, so this is the Visconti Sforza deck, and that is it for those. And then finally, I have the Thoth style decks. So I have 3 of those. This is the Thoth. This is the Thoth deck, and of course it was around the same time, created around the same time as the RWS. So this one, actually the keyword on here is peace, right, which is sort of contrary to the other decks that talk about dual and well, I guess balance. I guess you could look at peace being balance. Let's just have a look at what this card says. This is the Millennium Thoth by Lo Scarabeo, which is just an updated version of that one. I'm just going to read the description here. And it says, two swords cross. Okay, the upright meaning. A dualistic nature appears. You face a stalemate and a compromise must be made. Find a balance in a situation. On the reverse side, make decisions from collecting data, rejection of external input. Allow others to guide you. And finally, the Handel Tarot. I haven't worked with this deck very much yet, but it is, or actually any of the Thoth-based systems, but that is one of my plans for this year, being 2020. So I guess in summary, I find them all to be fairly similar. For this particular card anyway, I find the meanings to be fairly similar. I would use any one of those meanings in my data bank for my intuition to pull on, depending on what the reading, specific reading that I'm doing is about. I certainly wouldn't say, oh no, you know what, I'm there's a dual, like if there's something, if my intuition is telling me and I'm using this card, or this card comes up and my intuition is telling me that there's a duel somewhere, there's an argument, there's a fight about something, I'm not going to throw that out in favor of, oh no, the meaning of this card is actually to go within and make a choice. You know, so maybe that's wrong. I don't know. Again, I'm just a newbie, but for me, the meanings of these cards seem to be sort of go hand in hand. There's nothing here that's completely opposing. They are similar. Again, there's different nuances, and there will be different nuances for every single deck, regardless of whether you're in the same system or in this case, a different system. But yeah, for me, that's what they mean. In terms of my favorite cards for the Two of Swords, I'm gonna say that I'm just gonna pull these out here. For the ancient Italian style, I'm gonna go with the Sopraffino deck. And for the RWS style, I'm going to say, just based on the artwork, this one is a huge hit for me. I love the artwork, and I just love how that card speaks to me. Although it is this one is a close second. This one has given me some, you know, there's some really interesting readings that have come out of that one. At first glance, it looks like, oh my gosh, you know, even though he has a bigger sword, she's got the sword to his neck that requires, you know, there's some skill there. It requires some surrender on his part. He's consciously made a choice to put his weapon down and let her sort of lead the way. So those are my favorite cards on the RWS style and the ancient Italian. The Marseille decks, I'm not a huge, to be honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of the Marseille decks. These ones are, you know, so these are the Marseille style that I have, or the Pip styles that I have. And the original, like this one, is the actual classic Marseille, and the Wandering Oracle, very, very pretty. But right now, I'm really vibing on the paradoxical edition of the Trionfi della Luna. I just love it. I love the dark backgrounds. I love the faces. I just love this artwork. So the Marseille style is one that I am looking forward to learning more about this year. So stay tuned for that. Of course, I can change my mind at any time. But anyway, so there you have it, the Two of Swords. I'm sorry this was so long. I'm going to try to make the the future videos much shorter. I read a lot of descriptions here, but I kind of felt, again, this is for me for learning, and that's how I learn. So, okay, so catch you on the next one. I hope you have enjoyed. Bye.